Okay, tell me about the three girls' father that...
Oh, yeah. Well, he was known as Westerbeck. He's a big, heavy-set fellow, and he was a Raleigh's distributor. And he'd call on all the farmers in a certain radius about once a month. And I always remember his car was always so... He had all the roads were gravel in those days. The back roads were gravel. It was so dusty and dirty. And on the back of the car, he'd have a 5-gallon can of stock spray wired on the back so it wouldn't fall off. And he'd sell them a 5-gallon can of that for spraying there. You spray the cows before you milk them at night. And that's why he'd carry that. But
what did it do?
it killed the flies.
Oh, okay.
And kept them away, yeah. Like I said before, he carries a lot of things that the farmer's wife very seldom got to the store in those days. The husband would go to town and maybe take the milk down to town, and he might go to the grocery store, pick up things for his wife. But there was things like spices and pepper and vanilla was as they hide them. Then he'd have some cold medicines they'd carry, and little things like that. And maybe even some little trinkets they might use in the kitchen, little tools or things like that. You couldn't have much room. They just had a passenger car, and they have a trunk on it. Some didn't have a trunk, and they go around, and there was Watkins and Raleigh's and McKesson Robbins. But he was a Raleigh's man. So I remember Lois would tell me about him, how he'd go out in all kinds of weather in the wintertime and get stuck in the snow drifts, and it was a rough job, really. And but he made enough money to support his family doing that. I don't know how he did it, because it didn't seem like you could make much money on that stuff, but I guess the profit margin was pretty high on it. That's the only thing I would say. So, of course, Lois told me, or Velda told me that he would take the girls to a place to play music on a Saturday night. He'd take them there, and he'd go home, and then he'd come back again just at the time they were done. And always take them home. Nobody else ever took any of the girls out afterwards. He picked them up himself after they played. So yeah, that was quite a life. He used to stop in we had a restaurant in Edina at that time, Edina Triangle, and he stopped there. And he'd get a hamburger or two and maybe a bottle of beer or something. And he was always such a jovial guy. And, so one of those things you just don't have anymore now, and to travel around to farmers' wives and sell them things they couldn't get otherwise, So that's about it, I guess, for right now.
Nice story. It was very nice meeting you, Sandy Stojan.
And I might say, if it's still right, my name is Ed Wiesman, and I was a classmate of Lois in high school. In the class of 1944 is when we graduated. And she was the smartest one in our class. I was the valedictorian, and she was the salutatorian. That's the second grade, but she could have or would have been the valedictorian.